Good afternoon, everyone. Please take your seats and get comfortable. We're about to get started with today's program. Thank you. My name is Charity Fort, and this year I have had the pleasure of serving with Emily Cusick, Maggie Dunbar, Sarah Hugelair, Dieter Malu, and Victoria White as the class marshals of 2015. Tomorrow, the class will join the greater Harvard community to graduate on commencement day. But today, I have the honor of welcoming you to Harvard Law School Class Day, a day reserved for the law students to come together and celebrate many great achievements and to mark the beginning of the commencement ceremonies. I'd like to begin by acknowledging and paying respect to a beloved Harvard Law professor who recently passed away. Professor Daniel Meltzer will be on our hearts and minds as we continue these festivities. Let's have a moment of silence, please. I'd also like to acknowledge all of our family and friends in the audience. Law school may have been a journey, but you all have traveled from across the country and around the world to be with us here today, and we could not be more thankful. Without your love and support, we couldn't have taken a single step. So thank you for being here. We couldn't have done it without you. Our time at Harvard Law has been characterized by students, professors, and staff members who have converged on this wonderful institution to make a lasting impact on our lives. No matter what we're experiencing, stress, success, or snow, these people have educated and inspired us, making HLS a home no matter where we're from. We have a great program ahead, filled with reflections on where we've been, where we're going, and thanking the people who helped us get there. So let's get started. Please allow me to introduce LLM and fellow class marshal, Dieter Malu.
It is my pleasure today to welcome to the stage Mr. Salvo Arena. He's the president of the Harvard Law School Association. This organization seeks to foster engagement and community among the nearly 38,000 alumni living in 148 countries around the world, a community that we all are now proudly members of, well, at least tomorrow. Mr. Salvo Arena earned both his PhD and his JD from the University of Catania in Italy before coming to Harvard Law School to earn his LLM. Mr. Arena currently serves as the managing partner of the New York office of Keynote Studio Legali, one of the leading Italian full-service law firms. He additionally serves as a member of the Council for the United States and Italy, a member of the National Italian-American Foundation, and a member of the Italian-American Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Arena has consistently kept meaningful connections to this law school through his dedication to creating networks among alumni and fostering both domestic and international collaborations. He's a firm believer in the friendships the Harvard Law School Association creates. And something tells me, well, he told me before we came up here, that he loves food, wine, and dance. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Salvo Arena.
Thank you very much. And it's actually true. I mean, I hope you will go to Facebook and Instagram. You will see the beautiful pictures and video of the last event in Paris, where there were a lot of people dancing and really drinking good wine. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I even remember so many memberships. So my name is Salvo Arena, LLM Class 2000. I have the honor and privilege to be here as president of the Harvard Law School Association. On behalf of HLSA, congratulations to all the members of the class 2015. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome all of you into the oldest law school alumni association in this country. The Harvard Law School Association was founded in 1886 by 400 alumni. Today, the association has more than 38,000 members with a mission to foster networking and mutual support amongst Harvard Law School alumni, faculty, and students. What makes the HLSA unique? A deep sense of belonging to a community which goes beyond any geographical border, political affiliation, social class, religion, and race. This is an association about community of talented people like you that is diverse, engaged, and global. Whatever your passion, there are other alumni who share it. Whatever your goals, there are other alumni that can help you achieve them. Nowadays, more than ever, people feel the necessity to be part of a platform. Well, we have the privilege and the honor to be part of the most powerful and beneficial platform in the world. Let's be aware of that. Your network is not just your class 2015, but it's a global network of all Harvard Law School alumni, past, present, and future. Take advantage of this network. Really take advantage of this network. That's what I did, and that's what a lot of alumni do. Let's all of us be active, spread the word, and expand the network. Today, the HLSA has 30 local associations in US and around the world, and 14 shared interest groups. We encourage you to not only attend events sponsored by the network, but to get involved in planning events. New HLS graduates, all of you, have the opportunity to join and participate in activities provided by the HLSA Recent Graduates Network. This is the association where I welcome all of you today, and I invite you to stay connected by taking advantage of the HLSA Connect, an online alumni directory and advising network that provides alumni with the opportunity to connect, network, and explore the HLSA community that exists around the world. I also encourage you to join us on the Harvard Law School Alumni LinkedIn, the HLSA Facebook page, Twitter, and the Instagram account. Let me just close with a few thoughts. I come from an humble family in Italy, in Sicily, and I grew up with the dream to be part of an elite group of professionals who could change the world. In the last 15 years, through the HLS network, I've met extraordinary people who have changed my life. The Harvard Law School has given you the tools to make a difference. Now it's really up to you. Take advantage of the benefit of your education and the power of the HLSA network to change the world for better. Work hard, think big, and dream impossible dreams. That's what an old Italian American was repeating. And remember, never give up. Your success is limited only by the extent of your imagination and your commitment to hard work and persistence. You are the future. You can change the future for better. Good luck, and once again, congratulations to you and your families on your achievement in graduating from this incredible law school.
Today, I have the honor of presenting the Suzanne L. Richardson Staff Appreciation Award to Catherine Patanayak. This award recognizes, This award recognizes a single staff member each year for their demonstrated commitment to the student experience and concern for student life and work. This award was selected by open nomination from members of the graduating class, followed by a final vote on the 4 finalists. Since joining the Office of Public Interest Advising in the spring of 2009, Ms. Patanayak quickly became a reliable and trustworthy source of information and advice within the law school. A graduate of Harvard Law School herself, Ms. Patanayak has always shown a unique understanding of student concerns and interest in fostering personal and professional growth. During the nomination process, students explained why she was their top choice. These remarks speak for themselves. One student said that Ms. Patanayak deserved the award based on her extraordinary support of public interest students and their careers. Another shared an anecdote about her first visit to OPIA, stating that her meeting with Ms. Patanayak immediately put her at ease about the future, while another commented that she wouldn't be where she was today without Ms. Patanayak. With that, I am beyond pleased to hand the Suzanne L. Richardson Staff Appreciation Award to my OPIA advisor, Catherine Patanayak.
I am very lucky to be able to stand here and say that I truly love my job. It is difficult to identify with any sort of nuance in the short time that I have today all of the many ways that this work is fulfilling, but I can confidently say that what I find most meaningful is the opportunity to really get to know and to learn from the talented and wonderful students at HLS. And I hold you, the class of 2015, particularly close to my heart. Every class of students enters Harvard Law School with a virtually limitless ceiling of potential. You all came to Harvard because you excelled in your prior lives and because you had a desire to make an impact on the world. As you have used your time here to explore the power of the law, both intellectually and practically, I've been honored to play a small part in helping you think through what you actually want to do with that potential and desire. I had the pleasure of getting to know some of you during your 1L summer job searches or your LLM year. Others I have known for all 3 years of your law school journey, from your 1L year through the process of determining how to best harness your talents and interests, through the sometimes stressful search for a postgraduate public interest position. In my work with all of you, I have been consistently inspired by your tenacity, by your willingness to regularly put yourselves out of your own comfort zones, no easy feat at a place like Harvard, by your outrage at the injustices and inadequacies that are still far too present in our legal system, by your deep commitment to using the law as a tool for change, and by your compassion for and support of each other and the strong interconnected communities you formed while here. And while I, of course, want to thank you for selecting me for this honor today, particularly when there are so very many talented and deserving candidates among the committed staff at HLS, what I really want to do is take this special opportunity to thank all of you for letting me walk alongside you here, even if for a short time, for trusting me with your hopes for yourself as well as your fears, for sharing with me your very highest and very lowest experiences in law school, for opening up about your lives outside of the law, about what you overcame to get here and what matters to you beyond your professional goals, and for reminding me every day why I chose this profession and a long time ago this law school in the first place. And as you leave Harvard, spend some time thinking about your law school years, what they meant to you, and where you want to be in the years ahead. Too often, our busy lives push us in a direction that we are only vaguely aware of until we realize how much time has passed. Your education at Harvard has given you an opportunity that many others don't have to consciously steer your life in a direction that you choose. Whether that choice involves work in the private sector or a career in public service, my own personal choice, take the time to choose rather than be chosen. Make the difference that we know you can all make in the world. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Victoria White Mason, and it is my privilege to introduce the Albert M. Sachs Paul A. Freund Award for Teaching Excellence. This award is presented to a single faculty member for their teaching ability, attentiveness to student concerns, and general contributions to student life here at the law school. And I could not be more delighted than to introduce this year's winner, Professor John Hanson. In their nomination submission, one student wrote, "Professor John Hanson symbolizes to us what HLS could be like, attuned to students, concerned with injustice, and doing something about it in this law school and beyond. Empowering and not condescending, creative and cutting edge. Professor Hanson helps us to see and envision something different. This year, in the face of the events of Ferguson, Staten Island, and most recently Baltimore, we've all been faced with the challenge of figuring out our place in the law and the implications of a legal framework that often perpetuates systemic injustice, both outside the walls of Harvard and within. Students and faculty have spent a great deal of time focusing on how we can change Harvard Law's curriculum for the better. And Professor Hanson has been at the helm of that work, not just in recent days, but since the very day he stepped foot on the HLS campus. He saw something wrong in the way that we study the law, and then he made it his mission, his life's mission, to change it. to envision a different Harvard, to envision a better world. And so as we honor Professor Hanson today, I ask you to consider these questions. Who will you be? How will you use your privilege? When you see injustice, will you work to change the systems that enforce it? On the last day of his torts class, each year, Professor Hanson asks his first-year students to think about those questions, and he leaves them with these words. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it can do. So may we never forget what we can do. We have the power, we have the tools to make a more just world. It's what we can hope for, it's what we can strive for, and most importantly, it's what we must push each other to do. And so today we thank you, Professor Hanson, for your beautiful example.
Following John Hanson is a very tough act to follow, but it's a thrill. It's a challenge because John said so much that's so important. It's a challenge, but it's a thrill to follow this superb, humble, honest, inspiring, and searching teacher and friend. He so deserves the Sachs-Freund Teaching Award. And I would like to add my praise and thanks also to Catherine Patanayak, the simply extraordinary and critical player in our public interest community. And to thank Salvo, whose dedication to Harvard Law School and to our 38,000 alumni is inspiring, as well as a superb example of life after HLS. I mean, look at his suit. We are so honored today by the presence of our Class Day special guests and speakers. Gabrielle Giffords, former U.S. Representative from Arizona, and her husband, Astronaut Commander Mark Kelly. They bring profound courage, searing analysis, and personal devotion to the crucial issue of gun control. And their work helped inspire our Journal on Legislation conference this year and efforts to spur campus dialogue about guns in this country. It is so meaningful you're here today, and we so look forward to hearing from you. In this challenging time in the world, students, you're who make me hopeful and excited, and it's a joy to celebrate the Harvard Law School class of 2015, all that you have accomplished individually and collectively. You'll hear a little bit more from me tomorrow. No one will listen, but that's okay. Let me just say that Harvard Law School is better because of the class of 2015. Superb work, critical questions, protests, ventures. Class Day today is a special day to give recognition to individuals who exemplify the school and our values at its best. I need to pay tribute to our beloved colleague Dan Meltzer, who sadly passed away this week, who helped through his teaching, through his planning, development of new buildings at the school, advice to President Obama, through his wisdom to exemplify what it is that we try to do here. But now I get to honor students. And today's honorees stand out for their passion and commitment to Harvard Law School and to the larger world. I will announce some people receiving some specially named awards. I will call out a first ever commendation from our library and then name fantastic individuals awarded recognition with the Dean's Award for Superb Community Leadership. First, the Andrew L. Kaufman Pro Bono Service Award, which is granted each year to honor Professor Kaufman, instrumental in creating and supporting our pro bono service program. The award is given to the graduating JD student who exemplifies the spirit of pro bono, an extraordinary commitment to improving and delivering high-quality volunteer legal services to people who otherwise wouldn't have them. Selection is based on service to public service projects or organizations and the quality of the work performed. as well as the impact on the community. And I'm delighted to announce that the 2015 award winner is Chad Michael Baker. So Chad, please stand. So Chad, you can sit, but Chad has devoted more than 2,000 hours of time to pro bono work during time here. And as executive director of the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, member of the Tenant Advocacy Project and the Prison Legal Assistance Project, you used your clinical experiences to critically examine this current state of poverty lawyering and to find ways to enhance legal services for your clients. One of your supervisors said, "You're a leader whose dedication and vision inspired everyone here to do more work, better, more thoughtfully." And another said, "You lead by example. You jump into cases to help other students. And your commitment to the Bureau and your clients has inspired others to do their best work." You shy away from praise. I bet you don't like this moment. But let me just say, you who've been the first to spread word about the success of other students, you have inspired us. Along with your summer work at the New York Civil Liberties Union and the Legal Assistance Foundation in Chicago, how wonderful. You'll be moving to Chicago to work with a past Kaufman Award winner, Lam Ho, at the Community Activism Legal Alliance, bringing together lawyers and activists to maximize their respective resources. Thank you, Chad. Four years ago, we lost a beloved colleague, mentor, and friend. William J. Stuntz, renowned scholar of criminal justice, died after a long battle with cancer. His influential scholarship addressed the full spectrum of issues related to criminal justice and procedure, from overcrowding of prisons to racial disparities in incarceration. An evangelical Christian, Bill examined the appropriate role of faith, emotion, and mercy in the penal system and in life, and he imbued his work and his life with compassion. He touched so many people while he served on this faculty and before. He was honored with the Sachs Freund Teaching Award. He remains a cherished mentor and friend to so many, many alumni who recall him so fondly. And the law school established the William J. Stuntz Award to recognize the graduating student who, while here, has demonstrated an exemplary commitment to justice, respect for human dignity, and compassion. I'm so happy that members of Bill's family, his father, sister, and daughter, are here today, as they have been in past years, to meet with the recipient of this award and to announce the recipient, so well-deserving, Seema Atri. Seema, you have been at the epicenter of public interest efforts here for 3 years. Your activities are broad, but they are never superficial. On the contrary, you're lauded for your complete investment in your work, your deep and contagious passion for movement lawyering and for organizing. You traveled to Ferguson last fall as a legal observer of the protests and provided Know Your Rights trainings to fellow activists. You brought some of that work back here to Harvard with your leadership in the Harvard-Ferguson Action Committee. Last spring break, you volunteered to help in the Sonoran Desert, providing food, water, and clothing to migrants who risk dying of dehydration and heat exhaustion. At Rosie's Place, you provided free legal assistance to poor and homeless women, and at City Life in Boston and Project No One Leaves, you've assisted those who risk losing their housing through forfeiture or eviction. You've advocated for human rights, immigration rights, workers' rights, and divestment. You've been a leader within Harvard Law School promoting public interest careers and the Law and Social Change Program, and we are delighted to honor you with the 2015 Stuntz Award. Frank Righeimer is the name of the prize we award to the graduating student in recognition of exceptional citizenship in our community, nominations by faculty, staff, and students, and I am so pleased to announce that this year's recipient is Allison Michelle Scher. Allie. really didn't start at Tulane Law School. We had a recruiter, came in here as a 2L, and we've been better ever since. You immediately took it upon yourself to identify ways to improve life at the law school, and you have done so. You were elected president of the student government, and you did a remarkable job, and I know this from people all over the school who nominated you. You engaged the community, assuring that all students' voices were heard. You attended to the needs of students and dedicated more hours than can be counted to improving the quality of law student experience. An effective advocate on behalf of your classmates, from everything from curricular matters, course evaluations, to food, services, and student health. You are an effective organizer. You developed the first Student Leader Summit, bringing student leaders together to learn from one another and facilitate better communication and planning, and you have led by example. Through the Project on Predatory Student Lending, you visited veterans and gave presentations about credit issues, including bankruptcy and predatory student loans targeting veterans. And you served as a student leader in the Title IX Working Group and have been instrumental in promoting dialogue on the vital issues of gender equality and responses to sexual assault, as well as prevention. Indeed, your work is central to the creation of the new HLS student app on Title IX, which will debut this fall. I'm so honored to present you with this year's Righeimer Prize. The David Westfall Memorial Award honors a colleague who taught here for more than 50 years, and he loved students and students loved him. When many contemplated retirement, he instead led one of the very first-year sections, and he enjoyed terrific popularity in that role. So it's so fitting we honor his memory by recognizing a student who made significant contributions during the first-year JD section and class experience, with this year's David Westfall Memorial Award going to Alexander Civita. Alex, your section mates adore you, and they credit you with being the key influence behind Section 4's sense of community, a community they describe as, look at this, sharing a strong sense of support, respect, and love. You brainstormed and organized activities and reunions even since 1L year, and you are actually the reason, I understand, for winning the 1L Section Cup. One student called you the spiritual leader. Another said Section 4 developed a particularly strong bond that will last forever, and Alex was the initiator of that goodwill, which has flourished among members of the section. How fitting that you are this year's winner of the Westfall Award. Now, I have an unprecedented request. I've never, in my 6 years as dean, in the 34 years that I've been on the faculty, heard of this. The library made a request for recognition of extraordinary student work, the best group of student workers we've had, said Brian Sutton in all his years in supervising the program. He said, I've been personally re-inspired by these students, their work ethic, they're taking responsibility for their library, taking care of each other, creating a cohesive team. If you're a student and you use the library, you benefited from the names of the people that I'm now going to read. I'm going to read their names and ask them to stand. No applause till they're all done with our thanks. Godiva Akulo, Shimriti Chandra Shekhar, Danushka Metawata, Veena Nadamuni, Lotana Nawudo, Leonora Ohina Obeng, Louisa Rosales. Thank you for your work, your leadership. And finally, the Dean's Awards for Community Leadership, which recognize individuals who enriched our community through academic excellence, public service, creative vision, nominations from faculty, students, and staff. And it's a thrill to recognize them. I'm going to name all of them, and I'm going to ask you to hold your applause. Please consult the program for all the activities engaged in by these honorees. They're too numerous for me to name. Please stand when I say your name. And they are Gregory Waltz, Melanie Berdesia, Samantha Caravello, Cassie Helen Chambers, David Glanzer Curtis, Emily Grace Cusick, Shudipta Neela Thevatnath, Giuliano Devalden Ebro Garrio, Olivia Hoffman, Sarah Hugalier, Claire Johnson, Joshua Stephen Ellis Lee, Dute Malu, Mackenzie Louise Morris, Tara Janelle Studebaker Norris, Shaker Rahman, Julie Bryn Siegel, Blake Alexander Strode, and Paul Suter. You are incredible. Each person honored today has contributed ideas, energy, generosity of spirit. You are the opposite of bystanders. You instead are upstanders. Have you heard that word? Upstanders. Upstanders are people who stand up against injustice, bigotry, violence, any wrongdoing. Upstanders take action. And I say to the class of 2015, thank you for building a culture that is supportive, even when people compete, argue, and disagree. You make it easier for people to stand up and speak out against what's wrong and participate in making communities where others participate and engage. It's my deep thanks. And with admiration, I now conclude the awards portion of this program and turn the microphone over to one of our outstanding Dean's awardees, Emily Cusick, who will introduce our Class Day speakers, true upstanders.
It is my privilege to introduce our Class Day speakers, former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and Captain Mark Kelly. As we begin our legal careers, it is especially important that we bear in mind the great potential and the great responsibility that a life in the law may carry. Few are better equipped to inspire and educate than Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. For over 15 years, she has continued to dedicate herself to public service. Congresswoman Giffords has long served her community, acting as the youngest woman ever elected to the Arizona State Senate from 2000 through 2005, and then in the United States Congress from 2006 till her resignation in 2012. Her tenure in public office was marked by compassion, bipartisanship, and accountability. While conducting community outreach during a Congress on Your Corner event in Tucson, Arizona, Congresswoman Giffords suffered a near-fatal injury that changed the course of her life and the lives of every American forever. After stepping down from Congress in 2012, celebrated for her strength and accomplishments, she was quoted as saying, "I will return, and we will work together for Arizona and this great country." Mark Kelly is equally committed to a life of public service. A retired United States Navy combat veteran, test pilot, and NASA astronaut, Mark Kelly is the winner of many awards, including the Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit, and Distinguished Flying Cross. Please join me in welcoming our first Class Day speaker for today, Captain Mark Kelly.
Thank you. I know a lot of you guys out there think it's really hot. But you know, Gabby and I are from the desert of southern Arizona, and this is like a day in February. Thank you, Emily. Esteemed faculty, family, friends, students, and of course, graduates, thanks for the invitation to come and speak to all of you today. It's good to be back here in Cambridge, where gravity is a nice, reliable 1G, where I can breathe oxygen at will, and where it would appear that most of you are not space aliens. But to the rest of you, let me just say, I come in peace. Graduates of the Harvard Law School class of 2015, congratulations on your enormous achievement. It's no secret that you have done a lot to get to this point. You apparently did pretty well on the LSAT and those awful logic games. Some of you in Section 6 made it through orientation with Professor Hansen and his showing of Morgan Spurlock's Supersize Me, which was promptly followed by a cheeseburger buffet. And you finally figured out what Patriots Day is. And you survived Section Olympics, the Halloween party, and Scorpion Bowls at the Kong. And throughout your time here at Harvard Law School, you've learned to ask the really important questions, to ask why, and to ask how the law can be applied fairly and equally, and to ask how we can advance the proposition of justice. So I know that many of you are probably asking some important questions right this second. Like, who is this bald guy again? And how long do I have to wait to hear from Gabby? Well, I'm here to tell you, don't worry. I'm going to be brief. And then you're going to hear from Gabby, because I know she's worked really, really hard so that she could have the honor of addressing all of you today. And as you get ready to receive your degree tomorrow, you may be asking some other questions of yourself. Maybe you're asking if it's okay to take a pass on ambition for a while. And maybe you're asking, how do you navigate the push and pull of prestige and meaning, of material success and personal satisfaction? And how do you bear the weighty expectations that come with being a graduate of HLS? Or maybe you're asking yourself if you're willing to go after something you really want and take the risk of failing. For the next few minutes, Gabby and I want you to forget all about that. For the next few minutes, we want you to think about a few things. We want you to think about determination, courage, and your own path. And we want you to think about service, and we want you to think about second chances. Now, it was really kind for you to invite Gabby and I here today, and let's just say it's very generous of all of you to believe that I might have something useful to say. After all, I almost didn't even get the chance to go to college, let alone law school like this one. And unlike my wife, Gabby, and surely unlike all of you, I was not an academic all-star. And neither was my twin brother, Scott, who also wound up being an astronaut and is currently over 200 miles above us aboard the International Space Station, where he's spending a year, and from where he sends all of you his congratulations. You know, one thing you often hear about astronauts is that they're really smart, kind of like Harvard Law School students, that they're whiz kids, that they were chosen for this. Well, my brother Scott and I, we weren't really like that. We were not what you call model students. We weren't even close. And as a result, our dad, who was a stereotypical tough New Jersey Irish detective, did not see us go to college. And I couldn't really blame him. So he did what he seemed to think was the next best step. And that wasn't college and it wasn't the police force. My dad recommended that we become welders. You know, he even offered to put us in touch with the Welders Union. Now, why did he do that? I think my dad wanted to make sure that we contemplated a career as a welder, but he also wanted to show us what he thought the future might hold if we didn't get our act together. And he wanted to make sure that we chose our own path and not his. And this is where determination comes in. So I worked really hard during my last years of high school, and I finally made it to college. I went to a place called the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, And this is where my own personal determination came in, and I set a really ambitious goal for myself. I decided to become an astronaut, and I planned to be the first person to walk on the planet Mars. Now, I'm sure all of you know this. I never made it to Mars, but I did become an astronaut, and I did make it into space 4 times. But I didn't get there because I had any sort of aptitude. Just as many of you aren't here on graduation day or the day before getting your degrees just because you're smart. We all got to where we got because we worked our butts off, all of us. And it's because we all had a goal. And tomorrow you're going to reach that goal, so I am very happy to say congratulations. You know, still, I think 3 years at this law school was not easy. When you got here, you had to either sink or swim in a sea of whiz kids. You know, maybe you got something that wasn't an H. Maybe you got even an LP. And I hope that doesn't mean less than passing. You know, maybe one of your professors told you, hey, this isn't good enough. Maybe you had to deal with some disappointment. And like your work towards achieving this law degree, reaching for your next goal might not go as smoothly as you hope either. Even for all of you, there could be some disappointments and setbacks. And I know how that goes because I kind of got my own LP. After I graduated from college and joined the Navy and showed up in Pensacola, Florida after flight school, I found out that I was kind of a crappy pilot. And after months of training, I could barely land an airplane on a runway. And you know what the Navy does to you after about a year? They send you to land on an aircraft carrier for the first time. Now, when the Navy sends you to land on a ship for the very first time, there is not anybody that is crazy enough to go with you. So you go alone, all by yourself. And I vividly remember this day, empty back seat of my T2 Buckeye, heading out to the tiny deck of the USS Forrestal, and it looked like the size of a postage stamp. And somehow I survived all this. And later that night, when I was being debriefed by the instructor pilot that had been watching from the back of the ship, you know what the first thing he says to me is? He says, "Are you sure this career is for you? You're not good at this." And he was right. And my point is that the other student pilots that did well that day did not go on to become test pilots or astronauts. And the student that really struggled that day, me, did. Well, why is that? And I really believe this. It's because how good you are at the beginning of anything you try, it's not a good indicator of how good you can become. Getting an LP is not the end of the world. Neither is failing the bar. You know, FDR failed the bar. Things worked out okay for him. You know, by the way, there's actually like this BuzzFeed list that talks about people who failed the bar. You should take a look at it. And even your commencement speaker tomorrow, your former governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, he even failed the bar exam twice. So as you start out in new endeavors, remember that you can start out as a lousy pilot and end up commanding a rocket ship into space. And as you leave Harvard, we promise you another thing. You're going to get a hell of a lot of advice as to what you should do. Some of the people around you, your family, friends, mentors, they're going to have some very specific ideas about the path you should take. Right? It's probably already started. Might be like a prestigious law firm, a big clerkship, a job at a Fortune 500 company, getting into politics, following in the footsteps of one of your alums, and getting a really miserable job, President of the United States. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's okay if you don't take their advice. Sorry, parents. You know, my grandma Kelly, she always wanted me to go to law school. She actually always wanted me to go to this law school, just like my cousin Christopher. Even after I joined the Navy, and even after I went to flight school, and even after I flew combat missions over Iraq in Operation Desert Storm, and even after I went to grad school and got a degree in aeronautical engineering and became a test pilot, it was always, Mark, have you given more thought to applying to law school? I think Harvard has a good law school. Now, don't get me wrong, my grandmother, she was proud of me. But even after I joined NASA and I had a chance to fly a rocket ship into space and back, Grandma was still really into this law school thing. Now, I know Harvard is not easy, but flying into space isn't a cakewalk either. You know, before each of my 4 space missions, my crew members and I woke up that morning of the launch. We went out to the launch pad knowing that there were really just 2 possible outcomes for the end of the day. We'd be dead, or we'd be floating in space looking down at this amazing planet. And I got to tell you, it's really incredible to see this big blue marble just floating there from the blackness of space. So knowing that, we'd climb into the space shuttle, they'd close the hatch, we'd start the countdown, and as the clock got to 0, the computer would light the fuse of this giant frickin' rocket ship. And we were strapped to this thing, and we'd accelerate from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in just 8.5 minutes, until all of a sudden, we'd be in space orbiting the Earth. Then we'd dock with the International Space Station. We'd orbit the planet for a couple weeks. We'd do an incredible amount of work and research. Then we'd undock and we'd fly this thing back towards the planet through the atmosphere at Mach 25. It's 25 times the speed of sound. We'd re-enter the atmosphere from halfway around the world, and we'd fly this thing as a glider without power, and we'd be in this giant fireball, and it would be 5,000 degrees, 1 foot outside the window. So don't think this is hot. And we'd have just one chance to land. And eventually we'd land on this runway in Florida, we'd coast to a stop, and we were alive. And each time after I returned from those space missions, I'd go to see my grandma Kelly. She'd give me a hug. She said she was glad that I was safe. And then after not too long, she'd just say, Mark, about law school, I don't think it's too late. And she wasn't joking. Look, my grandmother loved me, and she realized that this is an incredible place, and I should have wanted to come here. And she wanted the best for me. But in my case, and I hate to say this, she didn't have it right. I shouldn't have gone to law school. I didn't really want to go to law school, and I probably would not have been a good law student, especially here. And I probably wouldn't have been a good lawyer, and I probably wouldn't have been happy doing it. And like Gabby did, I had to choose my own path. And as you leave Harvard Law School, you need to choose your own path as well. But even as graduates of Harvard Law School, you might fail at something along the way. And Gabby and I want you to know this, that it's certainly better to fail at something you really want than to fail at something you really don't care about. I never made it to Mars, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to. But the journey was certainly worth the effort. And we promise you, whatever journey you go on, if it's something you really, really want, even if you don't make it, it's going to be worth it. And as you chase these goals, realize that there might be some tough times. And this is where courage comes in. more than 4 years ago, on January 8th of 2011, I was at home and Gabby was outside a Safeway supermarket in Tucson doing that most basic thing required in a democracy, and that's listening to the people you represent. It was a quiet Saturday morning, and I was sitting at home talking to my eldest daughter, Claudia, and I got a call on my cell phone from Gabby's chief of staff, Pia, and Pia told me that Gabby had been shot. She didn't have a lot of other information, and about 5 minutes later, I thought to myself, did I actually really get this call? Maybe I imagined it. So I called Pia back, and that's when she gave me the really horrible news that my wife had been shot in the head and that a bunch of people had died. Now, Gabby and I hope and pray that your lives after Harvard will be free of tragedy. But know this, the road ahead at times will bring you some unpredictable moments. And at times, it will challenge you beyond what you imagined. Now, nothing could have prepared Gabby and me for the challenge that we faced on that day and the challenge that we continue to face. But Gabby's tough, and she has always been an adventurer. And after Gabby graduated from Scripps College, she headed down to Chihuahua, Mexico as a Fulbright scholar, where she lived with a Mennonite family with no electricity and no running water. Then it was off to an Ivy League school, Cornell, sorry about that, for a master's degree in regional planning. And then Gabby went on to this fancy job in a skyscraper in Manhattan, and she drove her F-150 pickup truck there. Now, I've been to New York a lot of times. Have you ever seen an F-150 in Manhattan? Seriously? I've never seen one. But later, when her family really needed her, Gabby drove that F-150 back across the country, all the way to Tucson, Arizona. Because when your family needs you, you show up. She took over running the family's tire and automotive business, and personally and professionally, this was a big risk for Gabby. But Gabby ultimately helped save the business, and then she had an equally adventurous career in politics. And this is where service comes in. She was elected 6 times to the Arizona legislature, and then 3 times to Congress. And when she was in office, just like she is now, she was really, really brave. And in moments where the politics in her district became hot and angry, she stood by her principles. And she never backed down from her commitment to women's equality, to finding a smarter energy policy, to protecting our men and women in uniform, or any of those other issues that she really cared about. And when the tough votes came along, like the one on healthcare reform, Gabby voted her values, and she voted for what she truly believed was in the best interest of her constituents, and she listened to them. And that's why she was at that Safeway parking lot on that Saturday morning, to listen and to serve. Now, many of you have seen dramatic moments from Gabby's life on TV, maybe in the newspaper, but trust me, the more brave moments happen when nobody was there to see them. After she was shot, Gabby had to rebuild, and she had to grieve the lives lost in the shooting, and she had to come to terms with her own new limitations. She had to learn to walk again, to eat, and do everything with her left hand. And to do all these things that we take for granted, like speaking. Now, you can't imagine the struggle of knowing exactly what you want to say and having the words on the tip of your tongue and not being able to get them out. That's what every day is like for Gabby. And back in the summer of 2011, as Gabby began her recovery, and where I thought I knew what courage and bravery was all about, Gabby took it to another level. It was about 7 months after she was injured. She was a full-time patient in a rehab hospital in Houston, Texas, but she was still a member of Congress. And in Washington, there was a pretty big vote coming up, and it was the vote to raise the debt ceiling. It was a vote about whether our government should pay the bills. Now, politically, this was not an easy vote for anybody. And I'm sure a lot of other members of Congress would have loved to have been able to say, hey, I got shot. I'm not coming. But that's not what Gabby did. Gabby decided to be there to have her voice heard one more time. And on the morning of the vote, we had to get there fast. So while Gabby was getting ready to leave the hospital, I was at home doing possibly the most dangerous thing I've ever done in my life, and that's to pack for my wife for a trip. And after packing her bag, I raced to the airport. I barely made it to the airplane on time, and Gabby and I flew to Washington, went to a hotel, and her young female staff members opened up her suitcase and realized that they need to go to the mall. So they went and bought her some clothes. She barely made it to the floor of the House of Representatives on time. Now, I've seen some courageous things in my life, but I've never seen something like Gabby barely out of the hospital going to the floor of the House to do her job. I think a New Jersey newspaper summed that day up the best. They said, after months of rancor and pettiness, one small woman brought Washington to its feet. They went on and said, we can compromise on how we fund America. We cannot compromise on how we define America. That definition does not require words. Just look to Gabrielle Giffords. The next year, Gabby decided to step down from Congress to focus full-time on her recovery, and none of this was easy. It wasn't easy for Gabby to resign because, like me, she had chosen to devote her career to public service. And she chose that for the same reason I did, to make her community and this country a better, safer, and more just place to live. Because as the saying goes, we are all in this together. And the basic idea is that we cannot succeed without the contribution of others. None of us can. That's why you all need to take a chance to serve, to help others succeed. And it's really important for you to do that, because all of you are incredibly successful. And as you move on from HLS, there are many ways you can do this. You don't have to be an astronaut or a congresswoman. You can sign a petition. You can write a letter. You can make a donation. You can do more pro bono work. Well, maybe not the guy that did 5,000 hours of it, but the rest of you. The rest of you could do more. You can vote. You can carry a banner in the front, or you can stand near the back. You can yell into a megaphone, or you can listen carefully. You just need to do what you can to make life in your community and on this planet a little bit better. And if we know you at all, we know that you're ready because of your experience at Harvard Law School. And to those of you who gave so much of your time here at Harvard, the pro bono work you did, and to help those that are less fortunate, Gabby and I want to thank you for that. And we hope you keep it up. After Gabby made the hard decision to resign from Congress and focus on her recovery, I always knew that she would find another way to serve and to help others succeed. And this is where second chances come in. Nearly all the people that experienced the kind of injury that Gabby had on that day, a bullet to the head at point-blank range, die. But Gabby lived, and she grew stronger every day, and she was given another chance at life and another chance at service. And she has seized that chance. She has comforted and held the hands of mothers in Minneapolis who had sought safety in a domestic violence shelter. And she has testified before Congress, this time sitting on the other side of the dais for the first time ever, and faced her former colleagues. And she's spoken out about the bitter partisanship that paralyzes Congress, and she's called for compromises and solutions in the middle. And she continues to be obsessed, and I mean this as a compliment, obsessed with encouraging young people to serve. And Gabby's always been the kind of person looking for her own way to serve and who makes things happen. Our friend and my personal hero, a guy named Jim Lovell, the commander of Apollo 13, is that kind of person too. And Jim once told me that he remembers being amazed when he heard President Kennedy say that we would send a man to the moon. You know the famous speech in 1962, Rice University? He said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard," that speech. Well, Jim says that when he heard that, he thought it was impossible. The moon, he said, no way. Then Jim wound up flying to the moon twice. So now Jim has his own saying. He says there are three types of people. He says there are people who make things happen, there are people who watch things happen, and there are people who wonder what happened. To be successful, you need to be one of those people that makes things happen. So as you move on from Harvard, Gabby and I encourage you to be the kind of person that makes things happen. And you are all off to a pretty good start because you made this very difficult degree happen. And as a graduate of HLS, we hope you continue this tradition of serving others and to serve your community wherever you can. Let me correct that. We're asking you to. And we're asking you to seize this chance at service because these chances, they don't ever come around very often. Now, I know that someday soon my wife Gabby will be giving these speeches in their entirety. Trust me, if it was up to her, I'd be at home in Arizona cleaning the garage. She'd be here with you. After all, she got the name Gabby for a reason. Now, you might notice that Gabby's in a wheelchair today, and I want to tell you why. Normally, she would walk right up here to the podium. And this is kind of says a lot about my wife. There's this big race in Tucson called the El Tour de Tucson, a 120-mile bike race. And last year, she rode in a part of it, going about 11 miles. And after the race, she decided next year she's going to do 40 miles. So a month ago, after getting off her bike after a training ride, she fell, broke her leg. Which is really a bummer. And she's hobbling a little bit, but she is as optimistic and as positive as ever. And I know she's going to be back on her feet and on her bike soon. But let me tell you this, she's still fighting, even if it's from that chair. So now I want to introduce you to the woman who inspires me each and every day and who has taught me to deny the acceptance of failure, who's going to use her voice to honor your hard work and to celebrate you and to challenge you to seize this incredible chance that's before you. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords.
I'm Gabby Gifford, and I used to be in Congress, but don't hold that against me. Harvard Law School, thank you for inviting me here today. Graduates, your future shines bright. Find your purpose and go for it. Starting tomorrow, you can help change the world. The nation's counting on you. Be great, to lead, to innovate. But today we celebrate you. Be bold, be courageous, be your best. Go Crimson! Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. We just wanted to say thank you all. Thank you to our family, thank you to our friends, thank you to the staff, to the faculty, and thank you so much to Mark Kelly and Gabrielle Gifford for joining us here today at our really special day, Class Day. As you have hopefully heard by now, the celebration doesn't end here. We're continuing with a reception at the Crossroads and Jarvis patios. But please, don't celebrate too hard, because this journey still has a few more steps when we walk tomorrow at our commencement day. So go share hugs, go share high fives, go share handshakes, go share kisses with your friends and your family, both your old family and your new family. And once again, congratulations, class of 2015. We did it.